We're going to inspect our steer axle components, but first we need to check the wheels, and then we need to get the truck up in the air. Now that we got the truck up in the air, we're going to test some components. We're going to start by inspecting our wheel bearings. All we need to do to inspect that wheel bearing, it's just push the wheel in and then pull it out. So you're going to be pressing on it and then pulling. Pressing, pulling, pressing, pulling. If you feel the slightest movement, that's an indication that something's out of adjustment. So far, I felt something. We're going to proceed by inspecting it. Let's keep an eye on the drum itself and the kingpin itself. If the drum moves in and out while I'm pressing the wheel, that indicates that the wheel bearing is loose and it needs to be adjusted. However, if the spindle assembly moves while I'm pressing on the wheel, that's an indication that the kingpin is worn out or is not adjusted correctly. So we're going to proceed by leaning up on this wheel and we're going to push in and out. So pay attention right there, because I can feel it and I can actually see that the spindle is moving in and out every time I press on the wheel. So how do we fix this? The only way to fix it is by taking it apart and inspecting the kingpin itself, looking at the wedges. Maybe the wedges, they're not all the way in. We need to push the wedges in, retorque it, and go from there. You can also add grease to the kingpin, which it will tighten the whole thing down, but that's not the proper way to do it, because we know that most of that grease is going to get pushed out. The gap is too big, and we don't know if the seal, the internal seal, is in good shape. While the truck's still up in the air, we're going to check our toe. How do we do that? I got a 2x3 piece of wood here. And what I have, it's a nail driven into it with the pointing end sticking up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it under the tire. I'm going to step on it. That's going to stabilize it. And then I'm going to turn the wheel slowly. So what that's going to do, it's going to give me a mark that I'm going to use as a guidance. And I'm going to do that on both tires. And then with a tape measure, I'm going to place it right on the line on both sides. And I'm going to measure the front and the back. You can actually see the line, the mark right in the middle of the tire. It stops right there. This is the line that we're doing by placing the wood with the nail sticking up like that. So every time the wheel rotates, it's going to leave the same mark all the way around. Then we can use it as a guide to measure the toe of our wheels. The only reason I'm doing this is because sometimes tires are out of shape. Sometimes they're out of round. And I use this method just to be safe, because I can use the edge of the molding itself too as a guidance. But by doing this, I can be sure that this line is 100% accurate all the way around. It's not going to be moved in or out. It's going to be all lined up every time I try to measure it. Now that we got our mark on both tires, we're going to use a tape measure, and with the assistance of another technician, we're going to measure both ends. We're going to start by placing the tape right in front of the tire. We're going to take that measurement. Then we're going to do the same thing by placing the tape on the back of the tire, right about the same level that you did in the front, from one end to the second. And according to those measurements, we know that our toe needs to be 1/8 of an inch toed in. Our target is to be 1/8 of an inch toed in. Anything more than that, it's going to wear out the tire. If it's toed out, they're going to fight with each other. While the truck's still up in the air, we're going to inspect our spring hanger bushings. For the spring hanger bushing, all we need to do is place a pry bar right in between the spring and the hanger. Okay. Up and down, up and down, up and down. If we see excessive movement going up and down in between the spring and the shackle itself, or the spring hanger and the shackle, up and down, that's an indication that the bushing is worn out, or the pin is out of shape and it needs to be replaced. Don't forget to inspect the wheel seal, brakes, and drum. Also, when inspecting our chambers, brake chambers, of course we're looking for our adjustment, but mainly look at the base or the mounting base, right where it mounts with the S-cam bracket, because they have a tendency to crack underneath it. Make sure that the cotter pins, make sure that the clevis and the cotter pin's still there and they're in good shape. And we're going to proceed by adjusting the brakes. We're going to use a 3/8 ratchet and a 7/16 6-point socket. If you place that socket right on the nut, then you tighten it down till it bottoms out. Then you go the opposite way, 1/4 of an inch of turn. And that's how you adjust the brakes. How do we know a ball joint for a drag lane or even a tie rod end is bad? If you think that the ball joint is bad because it moves like this, side to side, that's incorrect. So a good way to check it is by using a set of pliers like this. We're going to expand our pliers so we can actually get it in between the joint like this. And all we need to do is try to compress it. If the ball joint goes up and down just a little bit, it's an indication that it's worn out and needs to be replaced. We're checking the steering wheel. Basically, we're going to move the steering wheel lightly side to side. And it doesn't have to exceed 4 inches of play or 30 degrees. We can do it by the eye, or we can use a regular tape measure. And I'm gonna basically, we're gonna follow the mark, the 6-inch mark, and we're gonna guide it with this rubber band that it's already placed on the steering wheel. So basically, On this steering wheel we have about 1 inch, which is still under specification. 1 inch of free play should be fine.